Here we are, here we are. And so, welcome everyone to Empower Your Evolution. And with Empower Your Evolution, it is, I guess you could say, just more about managing when you're in transition. But especially for those of us who have a vision, for those of us who pretty much have a calling, on our lives. And so it is just so important, you know what I mean, for us to don't lose sight of our vision, don't lose sight mainly of yourselves, y'all. And so, again, with Empower Your Evolution, it helps you to clear the path because sometimes there can be so many distractions. And sometimes, too, with that, again, we can lose sight. I'm just going to leave it like that. Sometimes we can lose sight of who we are and where we are. So, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Sharon D. Brown. I am the founder of Self Care U Academy. And then with Self Care U Academy, what we do over here is pretty much we empower entrepreneurs and executives to supercharge your self care so that you can sustain your sanity and thrive under pressure without losing yourself and without having so much struggle. Because a lot of times, for those of us who have a calling, who have a vision, who's doing the thing, because we're doing the thing of giving so much to others, and especially if you're in transition, you can have a breakup, have a heartache, you can have a divorce, you can have a separation, and that in of itself is not an easy thing to do. It doesn't matter who initiates it, but you will go through something. But with that, you will get through it as well. And so, in saying that, a lot of times, we may have maybe, you're already, in your calling, and then something like that happens, or it can be the loss of a loved one, and that is even, like more so. Oh my gosh, that I don't like to put words because everyone deals with it different, but I would say definitely say it is very impactful. It can be the loss of a job, it can be anything where you're in transition. But the thing is that with the way that the world is and the transitions that you may be in, it is so easy to lose sight of you and then to lose sight of yourself. So over here in Self Care U Academy, I'm over here to remind you of who you are in and of itself. And for me, that started off with a personal stressor that I had in my life several years ago. It was because of a breakup. It was a breakup, and I was crying for 40 days and 40 nights. And I'm like, okay, something got to give, and it wasn't even, let's say, it's not like I cried for 40 days and then it was in the early days. I'm like, something has to give. And I needed something beyond therapy, because sometimes therapy, I'm one to really say therapy alone just isn't it, because those emotions, those wounds, those trauma live in your body, and some type of embodiment practice is necessary. It really is. But anyway, so that is how I ended up walking into a yoga class. I walked into a yoga class, and then from there, yoga teacher training. And with the yoga teacher training, as I was transforming myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more about this and to be able to share it with others. And so a lot of times with me, I have others, inside my mind of how I can help, how I can support. But just remember, you got to do the work as well. And so that was a little bit about me. But one thing that I definitely want you all to know, especially for those of you who are female entrepreneur, who are 40 plus, in that If you are experiencing something, if you are in transition, if there is a life adjustment, hear me clearly. You are not broken. You are not broken. That experience in and of itself is allowing you to evolve. It's part of the journey. I'm going to leave it like that. It's just part of the journey. And I want you to remember that. Now, with Empower Your Evolution, this is for, again, women who are 40 plus, entrepreneurs, leaders, business owners, ambitious, and you're navigating life or your business or just for personal growth. Because like me, I am definitely a personal growth type of gal. It's like sometimes I have to halt it. It's like, okay, Sharon, you need a different type of personal growth, like personal growth for your business. And so there's different levels to this. But the thing is that sometimes you can be navigating something. But one thing that I will say, y'all, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, if you have a call, if you have a vision, if you have a purpose, personal growth is necessary. To be honest, we can't get away from it. And this is one of the reasons why you may be stopping, installing, and self-sabotaging, to be honest. And there are times in which you may be successful, but just something just doesn't feel aligned. You feel unbalanced, feel uncertain. Some of that can be natural, but you don't want to get stuck there, y'all. You don't want to get stuck. You don't. Because even though I was crying for 40 days and 40 nights, I did do something about it. Now, we can't rush the process in and of itself, but you don't have to be stuck in it. It really helped to make it go along the way. And so if you are ready for clarity and for support, this is the place to be. Now, let me tell you something when it comes to empowering your evolution. When you're in transition, is that the transitions in and of itself, it doesn't just change you. It's like, even though I was showing up for work, I was showing up for family, but was I really showing up for myself? You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't only change you, but it also changes how you think, how you feel, and how you show up. Because to me, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I am showing up as myself. I'm smiling, I'm doing the thing, but behind closed doors, I was miserable. And we don't want you to be that. We really don't. And it can pretty much, when it comes to transitions, is that it can change of how you think about yourself. And I'm pretty sure, I want to say there was a small portion of me that was looking at myself. It's like, what's up? You know what I'm saying? That there are some things that I could not understand. But let's just say life be life, and you can navigate yourself through those transitions. And the other thing is, like, doing the hardest part or the roughest part of the transitions, sometimes you may end up losing yourself, and it can diminish of you being authentic. And this is why it's so important to be intentional about empowering your evolution. This is why it's so important, like for some individuals, you may need therapy. For some individuals may need coaching. For some individuals, I want to say everyone needs some type of embodiment practices. And that's another webinar in and of itself. But for some of you, again, some common transitions: breakup, separations, divorce, a new job or promotion, even though they're exciting, but it's still transition. Different stages of entrepreneurship is also common, as well as business challenges. We don't talk about that, but this one, y'all, because this one this one, what I'm about to say, it took me a minute, even though I understand it, I know what it is. I help people work through it. Is that identity shift? Because even when you think about a breakup, it's like that is an identity shift in and of itself, especially if you don't even see it coming, y'all. If you don't even see it coming, because it's like, yes, you are involved, and no, you're not. And that's an immediate identity shift. It's like, how do you work through that? Because it has everything to do with how you see yourself and what are you thinking about yourself and even how you treat yourself. And so just saying, it's not just with, when it comes to a relationship, it's also when it comes to your business. There's a big identity shift, and there's a lot of talk about that, but I'm not sure if people really understand what that means, because it took me a minute. It took me a minute, y'all. But once you get it, and then you begin to put in the work. Because one thing I'm going to say about identity shift is that is forever evolving. And it is about becoming the person to do the thing, that your calling is here for. So it's not just about the aesthetic of whatever your calling is, the aesthetic of being a speaker, the aesthetic of whatever it is that you're offering or that you're producing. It is becoming the person, is being the person, because there's some aspects, y'all, that we're not quite ready yet. We have to become that. And that is a form of transition in and of itself. Now, you heard me talk about that even when it comes to promotions, even when it comes to something that's exciting, that's a form of transition itself. But that can disrupt you too. Um, I remember, actually it was twice. I remember my very first time of being a supervisor. One, it's like, yeah, that would be cool. And like an opportunity came up, and it wasn't that I had quote unquote applied for it, but I was sought out. So that's even better, right? When you're sought out to be over a program or something. But y'all, that was the hardest thing that I've ever done. It was like, that's when you really learn about people and learn about different things, and you more so learn about yourself. But even when it comes to growth, because yes, I had to step up. Yes, I had to learn about leadership. Yes, I had to do all of these things, but it can growth can definitely dysregulate you, unbalance you, and disrupt how you think about yourself, disrupt your confidence, disrupt your habits, as well as your nervous system. And those are the things, y'all, that people don't talk about. They don't talk about the people side of entrepreneurship and the people side of being in leadership. And it's not y'all, let me tell you something. It's not about just being a good person, because you can be all the good person that you want to, but everyone is not going to agree with you. So it's like you're working on yourself when it comes to, not being, and you're not going to agree with everyone either. And you can feel it in your body, you know what I'm saying? And so again, that is another thing for us to talk about later, or should I say in another video. But just be aware of this, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Now, when it comes to transitions, whether it's personal transitions, or when it comes to your family, or when it comes to your job, or you being an entrepreneur, what do most women do? What do y'all do? What do we end up doing? We end up pushing through, staying busy, not taking breaks. There are times you may need to take some personal leave then you minimize your needs. Even if someone asks, so, oh no, I got it. Especially if you're the one who's always showing up, especially if you're the one who's providing the resources, especially if you are the one who, quote unquote, the strong one, wherever that came from. And you just keep performing, especially someone who's ambitious, because the other thing is, and I get it too, because you feel like if you stop that, you'll be stopping forever. But that's not true, okay? But sometimes you may need to slow down, but there's a way to do it without completely losing momentum because, again, I get it. But the thing is, by you pushing through and keep doing all of those things, do you ever wonder why you're exhausted emotionally and physically? Y'all, you have to rest and restore. Rest and restore, because if not, you end up paying for it in the long run. You really will. Now, let me tell you something. One thing that I have come to learn that is missing when it comes to transition, whether it's from a relationship or into, you could be newer into entrepreneurship, or you can be someone that's like, you know what, when it comes to self-care, I need to make sure I give that you want to make sure that you give yourself that space and the pace to be able to do the things that need to be done. We don't have no structure. We just, sometimes dive into things, don't have the support that you need, and then don't have systems in place. Now, a lot of times when individuals hear that, you think that I'm talking about like the external stuff. That's true too, but not completely. That's true too, but it's not completely true. But the main thing is that when structure support and systems are missing, the transition feels chaotic. But when they are restored, the transition is the pathway. It's not a setback, because sometimes it does feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Because I know, again, when it came to the breakup, I'm like, oh my gosh, my life will never be the same. But which is true. My life is not the same. So it depends on how you look at it, but that requires a work through. Now, when it comes to structure, structure gives you that rhythm. It gives you boundaries. It allows stability. You need that externally. And one way of getting that is to be, I'm going to say this is, it is to be inside of to be in community, to have your village. And if you don't have your village, then you could create one. But also look at some of the ones that are already created, because of the fact that can be a very powerful way for you to help. And one thing I like to say too is when you're inside a circle, inside a community, even if you don't say a word, y'all, you will learn so much about yourself, because usually someone would tell their story or share something. It can be a tip. It can be either their story, or I guess you could say their evolution, and you may resonate with you. It may resonate with you. It can be just one thing. Because there have been times, like some things I didn't even think about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I felt that way. But the thing is that a lot of times we're transitioning out of our old habits, out of our old patterns. And that's where where work on the nervous system comes into play as well. And so, one, give yourself grace and be patient with yourself as well. Now, when it comes to transition, there's like the power of the 3 T's, which is transparency, the transition itself, and transformation. That's part of the evolution when you get to the other side. But just know there's always work to be done as well. Now, when it comes to transitions or personal growth, being brutally honest with yourself is the most important thing. I cannot tell you that, because you're assessing of who you are, where you are, and who you want to be and where you want to be. Because if you're not assessing that, it's like after the breakup, it's like, okay, I don't want to be this way, you know. I want to be another way. Some parts I wanted part of my old self, but if anything, I didn't want to be crying for 40 days and 40 nights. And so when it comes to transparency, it allows you to revive yourself, because when you're able to revive yourself, again, you restore who you are. But if you're not being honest about yourself, then it's going to be hard for you to really move forward. And this impacts when you're in transitions, because a lot of times, a lot of these transitions are, I'm going to say, more on the personal side, but they're going to impact your vision, impact your calling, impact where you are when it comes to that. Because I can even remember, it's like I knew I wanted to do something different, but I didn't quite know what that was. But I just knew that I wanted to do something different. And in the early stages, I was like, yeah, I want to, start my own business. I want to, share my message. And it wasn't the breakup, but it was like right after, I'm going to say after I restored myself, got into a better place. As soon as that's like, oh yeah, I'm ready to dive into this, to learn, to explore, and to do the thing. In that, then my dad had a heart attack. I'm like, oh wow. Of course, that took, I say minimally 90 days from him, being in the hospital and then medical rehab and then, back home. But that was a lot, you know what I'm saying? And, even though I'm saying 90 days, but just saying pretty much once he got home, that was much better. But at that time, what I ended up doing, I said, okay, I'm not in a position to implement, to open up business. What I do is I'll just be in a learning mode, because again, I was just really learning, exploring. And so I took more so, I'm going to say more so at that particular time, it was more so a personal development learning mode. So it's like, by me being new to yoga and meditation and some other things, I dive deep into that. It's like almost every, I can't say every, but very multiple yoga and meditation teachings. I went to retreats and things like that. So in saying that is to be honest of where you are. Now, for some of you individuals, depends on where you are in your business, in your calling, you may not be able to halt on that. Because again, at that time, I haven't even started anything. It was more so a thought. So again, assess where you truly are, because I really felt like I didn't have the capacity to be able to do anything else. And so you're evaluating yourself. Now, when it comes to being transparent, again, you're being transparent of who you are, where you are, what's no longer working for you, and what do you need next. Take that time to sit back. This is why it's so important, y'all, just to sit back. Not only as a business person to be able to plan, but again, when you plan, you got to execute, implement, take action, but also on a personal level. Because of anything that I had discovered about myself, of how disconnected I was with myself, because I'm so busy, being a therapist, so busy of giving to others. And again, it's just a natural thing for me. There's no regret or anything. But what I realized is that I wasn't spending time with me. Now, if anything, I used to be like the queen of naps. Now I did that, but there's a difference. You can be the queens of naps and this and that, but if you're not really connecting with yourself, it's a whole new game when it comes to that. It truly, truly is. It is so different when it comes to that. But again, when you're brave enough to accept the truth without secrets or hidden agendas, then it's going to allow you to be more vulnerable. But y'all, in order for you to be vulnerable, it's about you being vulnerable with yourself. Because if you're not able to be vulnerable with yourself, you're not going to be able to be vulnerable in your circle, in your village, and especially in any areas that you may need help. And when it comes to being transparent, it gives you clarity when you have that self-awareness. It allows you to pretty much assess your current situation, again, where you are, where you're not, and all of those things, and to identify what are your struggles really, what challenges are you having, and to reflect on where you stand in your life and in your business. Because like I told you, after the breakup, and I'm like, because even before the breakup, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do something. And actually at that particular time, my focus was something completely different from what I'm doing now. And so in one sense, I'm so glad of the breakup because it propelled my self-care movement. Even though I would say I was still going to be in wellness, but it just, as I was attending all of these things, it led to a rabbit hole, and here I am now. And but as you sit down with yourself, you'll be able to pretty much look at what's working and what's not, and where you may need some assistance, some support. And y'all, please get the support. Do not delay that. Just get the support. Like I say, just get into the rooms, because even by you getting into the rooms, it's helpful. Like one example is, and this was recent because my breakup was years ago, but this was recent. I was in a circle, I was in a room, and this one lady, I would just say there was some issues in her relationship, and with the host and with other individuals in the group, they were able to give her some honest feedback, to allow her to be able to look at herself, to look at her situation, and to see what was in alignment. And y'all, if things are not in alignment, there's some room of working on things, but both individuals have to be working on them. And so in saying that, when you feel safe enough to be able to open up and say some things, then you can get the help that you need. But it's about you, moving forward with that help. But the whole point that I'm making is just by being in the room. And let's just say, because we don't know where everybody is in their life, in their relationship, in their entrepreneurship, within their job or anything. But I'm pretty sure that that call had helped someone else. And let's just say if that was me, I'll say this. It wasn't a relationship, but it was, I call it an experience that I had. If I was in that room at that particular time, just listening and hearing that conversation, it could have helped me. Because sometimes as women, we hold on to things for too long. And it's not just that. In that, what I'm going to say is, because what I learned from that experience, I wasn't choosing me. I was, I had a belief. It's like, oh, if I'm a blessing, I help others, in which that is still true. But you do have permission to have discernment, because I'm going to say it depends on the relationship in and of itself. I kind of call it, if it's those people out there that you're helping, you're not looking for anything. And I'm never looking for anything, but I do expect if I need something, where you have the ability to help. I do expect that. And y'all gotta stop. You gotta stop. I don't know where this thing come. Oh, gift from your heart. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is you really that in some relationships, in some things, it is reciprocal, not transactional now, but it is reciprocal in and of itself. And remember that because of the fact, if it is causing you stress, causing you duress, one is not in alignment, and two, you have permission of how you allocate your resources. Okay. So that's a part of being transparent. That's a part of being in a circle because, again, things can come up and it can resonate with you. You can like, oh, what? I can choose me? Oh, okay. But anyway, when you're transparent with yourself, when you're honest with yourself, well, let me say this. If you're not honest with yourself, if you're not transparent with yourself, then when you're in transitions, it feels chaotic, And when I think about the experience, I guess you could say I wasn't being transparent with myself or what. It wasn't even about my needs. It was just, about the situation in and of itself. And also when you're in transition, when it comes to the habits that you're developing, they're going to go out the window. They're not going to stick because you're not being honest with yourself. You're just probably just doing things and you're not being in and of itself. And then if you're overwhelmed, overstimulated, and then on the verge of burnout, or had been in burnout, that's going to come back around as well. And any transformation that you make, if you're not being transparent of who you are, where you are, what your needs are, what's working, what's not working, and all of that, the transformation, it's not going to stick. It's just not. It's just not going to stick. Now, one of the things that has come up in this Empower Your Evolution is I thought about the widow with the oil. And with the widow and the oil, and I feel like I'm taking it to a different point of view. But pretty much with the widow and the oil, it is all about self-awareness. You're doing an evaluation of yourself because with the widow and the oil, she didn't want to lose her son. She's like, hey, I got this going on. She knew she had enough self-awareness to know that's not what she wanted because it could have been temporary. But the other thing about you being transparent is that if you're not transparent with yourself, if you're not honest with yourself, let's say the thing that caused the transition can keep you in bondage. You can be enslaved. Like I could have been enslaved with the breakup. Like how many of you have had transitions, a breakup, let's just say a heartache. You had a heartache, a breakup, separation, or a divorce, and you can literally be stuck there. It can enslave you. I've seen some people who've had a job loss, and that has enslaved them. Again, it's self-slavery. Even though you could say, well, Sharon, it's not my fault. It doesn't matter. Like I said before, it doesn't matter who initiated it. It's like when it comes to a job loss, you don't initiate that. But how you go about that transition, it can enslave you. And then there would be debt. Again, the longer that I will cry for 40 days and 40 nights, that was the debt that I was paying for being enslaved because of the breakup. Until I was able to do something about it. So again, it's about you assessing what your debt is, because your debt can be emotional, psychological, spiritual, even financial debt. in and of itself. So what kind of debt are you paying? I keep saying playing. Are you paying of being enslaved by a situation, whatever it may be? It could be even your business. It could be your 9 to 5. You can be enslaved by so many different things. But sometimes it end up being a self-slavery because you're not doing the things that need to be done so you can move forward. I'm not saying that it's easy, but you will move forward because there's a calling on you. And half of the time, just like I told you, the breakup ended up being the thing that propelled me. And as you are evaluating your debt, because with the widow and with the orphan, what did the prophet ask her? What do you have in your house? So what do you have in your house? What are your assets? And that's usually our gifts. Because even though the breakup might have propelled me, but the things that I have inside, I already had. Most of them I was already doing anyway. It just needed a story to be attached to it. Because before, it didn't have a story, to be honest. It didn't have a story attached to it of affirming yourself. And it also deepen when it comes to deepen the explanation of self-care. And then there's some other things that's attached to that as well. And so once you are become aware of what you are enslaved to and how it is enslaving you because of the debts that you are paying, and then you are more connected to your assets and you know what they are, you know what your gifts are, then sit down and have that revelation of how all of this come together so that you can reproduce the thing, so that you can rest, so that you can rest from crying, so you can rest, pretty much rest and release the things that have been holding you back. You can have forgiveness. And forgiveness, not just for the other person or even for the person, let's say if you lost a job, forgive your job. It's so that all of those things can happen. Because you want to be able to release what's holding you back. And in order to do that, again, ask yourself, what are you enslaved to? What depths is draining you? And what oil is already in your house within you? Now, I want you to take the moment and ask yourself, who are you? Who am I? Honestly, who are you? And where are you right now, really? And what are you avoiding admitting to yourself? I always love that one. What are you avoiding admitting to yourself? And what season are you in? And for those of you who are on social media listening to me, and especially for those of you who are on the replay, stop the replay, right? Take a screenshot of it, of those questions, and sit down. Do your timer for at least 15 minutes and sit with those questions and see what comes up. And whatever transitions that you may be, remember, transitions allow you to empower your evolution. It's like, oh, it's time for me to evolve. But just know that transitions are just a natural part of growth. It's just a natural part. And it's that space between who you were, like who I was before the breakup, and then who I'm becoming after the breakup. And also remember, too, in that transformation requires some type of support. And for me, with the breakup, yoga, especially meditation, was the support that I needed. And then along the way, all the other things that I have learned. And so, one of the ways that you all can get support, especially for those of you who have a calling, because of the fact, I would just say, it's different for each person, but if anything, you don't want to lose that momentum for your calling. And there's other things that comes along with that. You just don't want that. So I am introducing Empower Your Evolution VIP, and it is a 90-day guided experience for women in transition or just for personal growth. Depends on where you are. And this is inside Fortitude Free Circle. Now, with Fortitude Free Circle, it is for entrepreneurs. And the main premise of it is so that you can improve your discipline. You know, you want to build discipline, embrace challenges, and sustain resilience. Because if anything that I've learned as a therapist, we don't put enough work in resilience. Sometimes you think resilience is because, you got onto the other side. I mean, I could have stopped like once I started going to yoga class, and then yoga. I could have stopped just by going to yoga class, but by me going to yoga teacher training, that really helped me in my evolution. And so meaning to put more into the thing to help you, become resilient. Because it's not just about, the feeling is gone. Okay, I'm not crying for 40 days and 40 nights anymore. Oh, I must be good to go. Nah, that's not how it works. That is not how it works. It takes some things, but generally with Fortitude Free Circle, again, it's for entrepreneurs, for you to build discipline, embrace challenges, because sometimes, y'all, we've been running away. I've been guilty of that too, and still have to remind myself, and to sustain resilience. And when you have a calling, y'all, all kind of things going to be coming your way. So let's practice. But it is an exclusive community for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and we have weekly Fortitude Free ritual sessions, along with opportunities where you can time block and also plan. Because y'all be doing too much. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Y'all be doing too much. And not always doing the things that need to be done. I'm gonna leave it like that. But anyway, with the empower your evolution, it is a 90-day journey. And with the first 30 days, it's for you to revive yourself. You're deep into that transparent, for clarity, transparency, habits, and planning and execution. Because of the fact, it's okay to slow down, but one thing I will say, when you lose momentum, you get disconnected to yourself and your calling, and we don't want that. We don't want that at all. And then the next 30 to 90 days, or should I say the next 60 to 90 days, is for you to really practice. Y'all, we don't put enough practice in consistency and integration in whatever it is. For each person is different, but it is for you. And so in the VIP, this includes a 90-day guided empowerment experience, one-on-one consultation with follow-up, weekly structure and accountability, and monthly Q&A and mindset support. And it's for a full year inside the circle, because we need support. You, for whatever reason, and I've been like this, especially by me being an introvert. It's like I'm all good by myself. I really am. But at the same time, I really do enjoy having conversations with individuals. But if anything that I did learn after the breakup, and especially in participating in share circles and retreats, is that we need community. I'm just going to leave it like that. With the Empower Your Evolution VIP, this is the first cohort. So, and we're only taking 5, y'all. So definitely, I'm going to say definitely get your application in. And with this, it is a I'm going to say it's less than $1,000 investment. I'm going to put it like that. It's less than $1,000 investment. And again, it is for a full 90-day experience plus a year of support. And so the VIP experience Uh, the VIP experience is if you're a woman and you're just tired of starting over and you want support and not pressure, but you need some structure to feel grounded. Because one thing I've found is that if you're not naturally inclined of integrating self-care, you won't do it. You do it here and there, but you won't sustain it. And you're ready to be honest with yourself. This is for you. And it is application based. And then from the application, then there will be a one-on-one call to see if it's a good fit. This may not be for you. And that's okay too. But this is your invitation. So if you're ready for support, and not just information, because a lot of times we're in information overload without executing. We don't do that over here. So this is your opportunity to join the VIP waitlist, and the link is provided in the chat for those of you, and for those of you who are on social media, comment empower so that you can empower your evolution. And y'all, don't sleep on this, because a lot of times when you end up sleeping on opportunities like this, you end up sleeping on yourself and sleeping on your calling. And your calling isn't for you. Your calling is for the people who need it. So let's stop having people wait so that you can be, so that, let's just say this, when you empower your evolution, you're empowering others. And so I will see y'all next time.